Welcome back to Rich Show Hobby and Art. This is the first part in a small series I'm doing on my pocket knife collection. This is something I started way back in 1991, and which is some family pocket knives that I acquired, and then went up from there. I don't currently actively collect knives, but certainly if someone in my family or something like that offers me one, I certainly will add to this collection. I am not a knowledgeable source of information on knives. I primarily collect woodworking hand tools, and so, but I have collected these knives in the past and I'd like to share them with you. So we'll just move everything out of the way. Actually, we'll start with this one. This is the first knife that I got from a grandfather. Most of my knives are from grandfathers. And so this is a Sta-Sharp. I'd actually found a number somewhere on it, but you see this is a Sta-Sharp USA. It has 3 blades, so it's got your primary knife, and then there's a secondary knife, and then a reamer. And the reamer is really hard to get out. I probably can't even get it out. I usually use the screwdriver of a Swiss Army knife to get that out. And so anyway, this was my first knife from my grandfather. It has the shield, that's sort of that shield display on it, and the number that seems to be associated with it, and I can't remember where on this I found it, is 9527. So to you knife aficionados out there, if you know if that's a model number or what that means, certainly let me know in the comments. There is a little crack here, right there. This has been used a lot. I do use this in my woodworking. I keep it in my Dutch chest, in the set of drawers, in the secret compartment, and so it does get used. The last user of it kept it very clean, well polished. Here's now you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little nick right about there on the blade. And so I don't remember if I did that or if it was there already there. I'm going to guess I did that. And of course I can hone and grind that right out with some of my sharpening tools. But this blade is not used as much as this one or the reamer itself. All right, here it is with the reamer taken out, and on this end, on the tang, it says spiral punch reamer. It's the same idea, but it's interesting that they put that on there, because most of the time when there is a punch or a reamer on a pocket knife, it actually doesn't say that on the blade itself. So anyway, this is the Sta-Sharp. It was my first pocket knife. And the pocket knives I got from this one grandfather, I got several at a time. And so this was another one from the same place. Also features that kind of the same handle, sort of. I don't know if this is mother of pearl or a faux mother of pearl. Based on the age of it, it could be the real thing. It's hard to tell, but both of them do have that shield. Although the shield on this one is a little more defined than the one on this one. And so again, those of you who know about knives, you might be able to fill me in on why that is. So this one is another one. This is the Federal Knife Company. And so if you are familiar with the Federal, out of on the tag it says Federal Knife Company, Syracuse, New York. This is a basically pen knife. Actually, there is... this is the model of this must be the producers, because if you can hold it there, I don't know if you can see that on the blade, it does say producers. Now that is either the model of this knife or it's something promotional that was added to it later. I don't know. Again, those of you who know what you're doing or know about knives, you might be able to fill me in. And so the basic pen knife here. My grandfather was a machinist, but he had a lot of pocket knives as well, and probably used them for all types of things. So, you know, out in the garage working, he worked a lot with old threshers and those types of machines, as well as just mechanical stuff, farm tractors. He was a farmer, and so he did a lot of, machine operations, but his hobby was really machining and mechanical parts. So who knows what these were used for, but I'm guessing it's something in that direction. Third one, this is I believe this is called a Curtin Clark out of Kansas City. I believe the style of this is a fishback. And the way it comes out kind of locks in place. Now, it doesn't have the spring at the bottom like a modern buck knife or one of those would. But it's got the CCC on the blade. I don't know if you could see that. The CCC. Now, these knives are sharp to an extent, but I'm not worried about cutting myself on them. Of course, if you have a knife, be careful with them, because the person before you may have kept them really sharp and you find yourself with blood on your hands. So anyway, so this is the, as I said, this is the Curtin Clark out of Kansas City. And there's a number 5 on the back. So again, those of you who like these things, you might know why it's I believe it's a 5. It could be a 3. It's kind of hard to tell. So anyway, again, this sort of mother of pearl or possibly faux mother of pearl handle. It's a very nice handle, very attractive, decorative, with sort of this hilt kind of pattern with the horizontal bars. It's very interesting. So anyway, that's another one from that same grandfather as the previous 2. This next one is from a grandfather on the other side of my family. And this is a multi-tool. And they did have those way back in, let's say, probably early to mid 20th century, though it could be older than that. It's kind of hard to tell. This is a Camillus from New York. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but Camillus, Camillus or something like that, New York. And it's got a large knife and then it has, what you see. It might be a camping knife, might have been a Boy Scout knife, as always possible. The side of the family that this came from, they did have Boy Scouts in the family, and so this could be a Boy Scout knife. It's very possible that Camillus had knives that they made specifically for Boy Scouts of America. You have a can opener and a screwdriver bottle opener, just like you do on modern multi-tools. And on the back you have the punch, that is, or reamer. On a Swiss Army knife, they call it a reamer. On some of these American knives, they call it a punch. But, it's the same thing. It will make a hole in leather. I've used them on wood, probably not what they were meant for, but I have drilled holes using these types of blades. So they do work. It's got this nice metal loop for attaching to your belt or, keychain, or I guess. Again, if you're a Boy Scout, this has probably got a specific use to attach to a certain thing. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think this is a Boy Scout knife, and it did come from that side of the family, and it had been used specifically for that. But if you know any different, let me know in the comments. Certainly would like to hear from you. This last knife, to me, seems rather modern, but it's not. When I say modern, I mean mid 20th century, somewhere in the 1950s. But the person to whom this belonged to had fought in the Civil War. He was born in 1842 and died in 1929, and certainly could have had this later in life, much later than the Civil War. But it is nice to have that kind of history. It's your basic penknife, and this came from the Remington UMC. So that is nice. It is a Remington knife. Still shows that on the tang. Again, got the large blade and the small blade. It's got the shield and the mother of pearl black on both sides. All of this one is, I would say, in very good condition. There is also a number on the tang back here, if you can see that. I'm not sure. I believe it's R6625, probably a Remington model number. So that could probably be, there's probably a list on the internet or somewhere like that you can easily see what that refers to. Again, I've had these knives for well over 30 years. Now this one I didn't have for 30 years. This came from a different side of the family, and this one I probably acquired in the late 90s or early 2000s. And so anyway, it's a very nice knife. I think it's in really good condition, and it does have the provenance of having belonged to somebody who fought in the Civil War, and he was with the Iowa Infantry. So that is the end of my first part of the collection of my knives. Stay tuned for the second part.